George R.R. Martin is the modern-day Tolkien. His Song of Ice and Fire series recently surpassed The Wheel of Time as the best-selling high fantasy since The Lord of the Rings. He was also a prominent science fiction writer, winning his first major award with A Song for Lear, a novella about aliens who worship a parasite. His editing work includes The Hellbound Heart, which went on to become the Hellraiser series. Today, we are going to be looking at his top 5 fantasy novels to see where he drew such a diverse range of inspiration. At number 5 is Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. It is a coming-of-age story about a young wizard called Sparrowhawk, who abuses his power in a duel of magic. In doing so, he unleashes a demonic shadow which seeks to possess him. To defeat it, he must learn its true name, and a subplot pits him against a dragon. It is a novel which encompasses feudalistic societies of different races, occupying the East and West, perhaps an inspiration for the people of Westeros and Essos. The Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny, though more of a science fiction novel, takes place on a magical planet with intricate lore. It is colonized by some of the few survivors of a dying Earth, who have the ability to reincarnate themselves. Here, they must interact with the gods of Southeast Asian scripture, which have turned out to be the true religion. Though a far cry from a Game of Thrones, it contains an epic conflict with a supernatural civilization, much like the residents of the Seven Kingdoms and the White Walkers. Third, we have an obvious choice. The Once and Future King by T.H. White is a loose retelling of Le Morte d'Arthur, with an emphasis on the psychology of the knights. Lancelot is insecure and overcompensates for his ugliness. Sir Galahad has to cope with being disliked and envied on account of his perfectionism. Sir Bors is a religious zealot and misogynist, who is willing to harm others in the pursuit of purity. George R.R. Martin has followed in White's footsteps as a master of fallible characters. Jon Snow must confront the rigidness of his morals. Eddard Stark is too honourable for his own good. Tyrion, despite having more intelligence and integrity than other characters, is also the most self-indulgent. Watership Down by Richard Adams was an unexpected choice, being an adventure novel about rabbits on a quest for a new homeland. It follows Hazel, who may be small, but is loyal, brave, and a quick thinker. He becomes the leader of his warren by ensuring no member gets left behind, as well as leading them in battle against other animals. These rabbits have their own folklore and their own language. We can see parallels with the plight of Daenerys, as she struggles with the problem of being both an efficient and a moral leader. At number 1, it is no surprise to find The Lord of the Rings. George R.R. Martin has cited the demise of Gandalf at the hands of the Balrog as one of his pivotal inspirations. He loved the uncertainty of not knowing who was going to die and when. It is probably why he chose to kill off Eddard Stark at the end of the first book. What's more, A Song of Ice and Fire is in many ways a reaction to The Lord of the Rings. George R.R. Martin has said, "The battle of good and evil is a great subject for any book, and certainly for a fantasy book. But I think, ultimately, the battle between good and evil is weighed within the individual human heart, and not, necessarily, between an army of people dressed in white and an army of people dressed in black. When I look at the world, I see that most real, living, breathing human beings are grey."